Hello. In this NCERT history series, now we'll see the next chapter, tribals, Dikus, and the vision of golden age. So tribals, we know they live in the forest, right? Then who are Dikus? Dikus means here it's the outsiders. So people who live in the forest are called tribals, and Dikus are the people who are outsiders. Maybe the people who don't live in the forest, or people who live in the villages or cities, or people like the Britishers, like it was in during the colonial time, right? So Europeans, all the Britishers, they also come under the Dikus. So Dikus literally means outsiders. Okay, and the vision of golden age, how they have revolted and how they have viewed that there will be a golden age to come. So India is a land of different kind of tribals in all the almost all the parts of country. So, but in this chapter we'll see some of the tribes, mainly the Santals, Orans, and Mundas. They are mainly concentrated in the Chota Nagpur Plateau. Where is Chota Nagpur Plateau? It is in this region in India. It's in the place called Jharkhand. Okay. We'll move on to the lifestyle of tribals. As we know, tribals have a different kind of lifestyle. They, unlike us, they don't have any kind of caste discriminations or the social hierarchies or all these kinds of professions and like all the divisions that we have made in social society. They don't have that much society. There's that much divisions. They have an integrated society. They are more connected with nature and animals and plants and trees. They use forest produce a lot, and they live in a low key lifestyle, right? So their lifestyle when compared to us is very different and very unique. Okay. Then so they also practice different kinds of occupation. So we'll see one by one. The first thing is the agriculture. How did they practice the agriculture? So they used to cut the treetops because they wanted the sunlight to enter, like reflect sunlight to fall on the land. So they used to cut the treetops when there are dense forests. So they used to cut the treetops so that the sunlight would fall directly on their land, and they burned the land after a certain period of cultivation harvesting. They used to burn the land, and the ash which is produced, that used to be spread everywhere because the ash contains potash, so it would naturally fertilize the soil for the next harvesting season. Okay, if it is left like that fallow for years, it would naturally fertilize, and they would come back again and they would start growing there. So this kind of cultivation is called as shifting cultivation or zoom cultivation. Okay, so this is the type of agriculture they practice. Next, it is they practice different kinds of animal rearing. Like they used to herd cattle, they used to herd goats, etc., for all the products they give. Okay, and they also used to give forest produces. Okay, mainly the cones of orissa if you have. So they used to produce, they used to eat then they used to use the flowers and fruits of sal and mahua trees. Okay, that would be there, and it used to contain a pigment that is used to color. Yes, so these all are, they used to produce the forest produce, and also they used to go for the animal rearing. Okay, and how did the trade happen? The trade mainly mostly it happened through barter system. What is barter system? So if there are two parties, A and B, so he requests, I will give you wheat and you give me some of your produce of honey, right? So there was not, so mostly 90% of things, there was no exchange of money of the such kind. So they used to give their produce and they used to give their share of the produce. That was what barter system meant. So they used to do in the barter system. But sometimes the locality did not produce any kind of some kind of materials, and they are not produced in the forest. They have to go outside and they have to sell, or they have to buy things. So then what happened, when they got exposed to the market, they got exposed to money lenders and traders whenever they wanted money. Okay, these money lenders were very ambitious, so they wanted high rates of interest and they exploited the tribals. So for tribals, this money lenders and other outsiders were evil outsiders for them. Okay, so they considered money lenders and other people as enemies, and they also considered market and commerce, all these things, as the something which is not suitable for them, as they will exploit the tribals. Okay, so they had a evil feeling for them. So again, the other occupations when you see, we have in Punjab we have Van Gujars, tribals. In AP we have Lambadis. So they were cattle herders. They used to herd the cattle. And in Kulu they were a tribal called Gaddis. So they were shepherds. In Kashmir they were Gujars and Bakarwals. So Bakarwals used to herd goats. And some of them lived a very settled life. They were not nomads like this. So they were used to live a settled life. So some of them were Gonds and Santals, Nishi tribe of Arunachal Pradesh. So they also used to build log houses and they used to stay there. Okay. So every tribal community had a chief. Like, just when you form a group, you'll have a chief. So in the same way, the tribal group had chiefs. So what are their characteristics? Is first thing, they used to have good economic power. Among the tribals, they were the one who had a good economic power. And then, and the administration, like he used to administer the tribals, and he had good amount of authority, right? And also he used to do the land management and forest management, who should get what the resources, how they had to be distributed. So these were under the control of the tribal chiefs. Okay. So this was the main lifestyle of the tribals, and how the administration was carried out in that particular area. So what happened when the Britishers came to India and when they disturbed the life of tribals? So here comes the colonial rule and the impact they had on the tribal people. So tribal chiefs used to have the administrative power, yes, and the authority of controlling the tribals, right? So as Britishers came, they assumed the authority, and so slowly the administrative power and the authority of tribal chiefs got declined. And they have to pay tributes to British, right? Just as a revenue the people pay to Britishers, the tribals were also forced to pay tributes to the British. So they had to pay large tributes, like maybe the forest produce, etc., like that. Okay. And they felt shifting, because forest has rich resources, because it's a tropical forest. India has a rich source of materials, like, so they wanted a major control of a forest. Britishers want major control of forest. So what they thought, they have to rule the forest area, they have to rule the tribals, and they have to maintain a control, or they have to get an authority of that particular place in order to get their produce. So they forced the shifting cultivators. So shifting cultivators are nomads. They used to go from one place to another, one place to another. They used to burn a field and then they used to go to another, and they sow there. So this was the process of shifting cultivation. They were not settled in a particular place. So British wanted shifting cultivators to become peasant cultivators. What is peasant cultivators? That means they stay in a land, they stay in a particular place, they will be given a land and they will be sowing there regularly. They will not be going to one another places and all. So what is the advantages if they are peasant cultivators? So British can easily administer people who are in that particular area. Shifting cultivators, it would become difficult to administer. So if they are sitting in one place and if they are cultivating it, it would become easier for them to administer. Okay. So what happens? The But what happened? The land was used to shifting cultivation, and so to change them to shifting cultivation to peasant cultivation, land settlements were brought. What is land settlement? Everyone were taken, and a small patch of land was given to everyone, and so everyone got a land to cultivate. Okay, these were called land settlements. But what happened, this, because the water was scarce sometime and the soil was not so fertile all the time, so due to the soil and the water problems and the scarcity, or sometimes it used to become dry. So in this process, the land settlements and the fixed land cultivation was not possible. So they faced a problem in this particular area. And British, what they have done is, they said forests are a state property. They are not property of tribals, they are a state property. And they classified some forest as reserved forest. So what are these reserved forest is? Reserved forests are mainly used to collect the timber. Yes. How timber is used? For what purposes? It is used for purposes of furniture or agricultural implements or any other particular any kind of implements timber is a fine quality of wood. So they wanted the timber produce. Yes, British needed this timber produce, and tribals were controlling the forest, so they categorized some forest as reserved forest exclusively for the timber growing, and they did not allow any of the tribal to perform June cultivation or shifting cultivation or to collect any kind of forest produce. So this was the rule they have imposed. But if they don't allow any kind of labor or any kind of tribal to get into that particular forest, how will they get the labor? How will they get the labor to grow that particular tree, or to cut the tree, or to transport the trees, or to so in any kind of, in any way, if you see, they need a labor. So they have come up with another plan that they would give people some land in their forest. Okay. And so they would give some land in the forest, they would give some land to cultivate, and in turn they have to provide labor. So they were given land and they have to produce labor. So a small set of forest villages came up, okay, for the purpose of providing labor to the British. So, dissatisfied by all these things and the control of the British upon the tribals, there were many revolts like the Songram Sangma in Assam in 1906, and the Forest Satyagraha in the central provinces in 1930s, and also we'll see the Munda revolt by Birsa Munda. Okay, so all these things came up as a revolution against the British. And other problems like of the British, the tribals were trade and middlemen. So when they started cultivating different kind of produces in the forest, so tribals used to sell their produce to the uh, in the market. So they were middlemen. Obviously, we know they were middlemen. So if they used to sell the produce at a particular cost, these middlemen would increase their cost into 5 times. So they would get a large amounts of profits, right? Money lender used to get middleman used to get large number of profits, but the grower who is there, he used to get very less revenue. So it mainly happened in the silk rearing. Okay, so knowing this, the tribals were disheartened, and they started a revolt because they were working hard, but the middleman who was there, he was getting a lot of profit. Okay. Then again, plantations, they were forced to work in the plantations like tea plantations and like tea plantations and sugar plantations. So tribals were taken, and they were forcefully you took to cultivate the plant in the work in the plantations. And also they were employed in mining activities because Jharkhand is known for coal mining and other mining, right? So they were taken for mining activities, and they were treated very badly. They were given very low wages, and they were not sent to home also. So they didn't have a fair treatment. So tribals faced a very depressing lifestyle during this colonial period. So number of revolts came here, just like the Cold Revolt in 1831, Santal's revolt in 1855, Bastar Revolt in 1910, and Warli Revolt. We know this is the Bastar Revolt is in central provinces, and Warli Revolt. See, have you ever seen this kind of art? We have seen often we see on the places, right? So this is called as a Warli art. So this is a tribal art form in Maharashtra. So Warli is a tribe, and this art form is mainly of that tribal people. So Warli art by Warli tribes. So Warli tribes also led a revolt in 1940. So where they are from? They are from Maharashtra. Okay. So now we'll see one of the famous personality and the famous revolt called Birsa Munda and the Munda revolt. Okay. He was a famous personality called Birsa Munda. So he belonged to the Munda tribal community. So he lived in the forest of Bohonda forest, the Chotanagpur plateau. Okay. So his childhood was like he was listening to the revolutionary stories of the Mundas, and he went to school, and there also he have got a lot of education. He used to get good education over there, and they also used to move from place to place in the search of work or in the search of farm, because they are tribals. They used to search in the search of good land for cultivation. And So he was grown up listening to all these stories of how Britishers used to exploit them, and how they are exploiting them still, and how the olden days, the back olden days were there, where there was no control upon tribals, and they were very happily living with their own authority and control. So listening to all these stories, he felt that they were completely oppressed by British, and so oppressed by British and the Dikus. So Dikus is outsiders. So he felt they shouldn't be outsiders, and we have to control ourselves, and we have to get that happy days again back. Okay, they also started Mulki Ladai. What is Mulki Ladai? That means we have to fight for our own land. So these were the slogans they have fought. He was a main leader, so they felt he had some supreme powers or sacred powers, and they used to treat him as god. So what he felt is, we can get back those old days, and we can get back our control and authority by practicing good practices, by following good practices, and by uh, stopping all the bad addictions or all the bad habits. Okay, so he went to Vaishnav preacher, and he took the teachings of him. He went to Christian missionary school, and then he absorbed all the knowledge over there. So okay, then came to his then he started reforms in his own community. So what are the reforms? He started teaching people good practices, and he stopped told them to stop all the addictions that they had, just like liquor. He told them to ban liquor, and he told them to stop believing in sorcery and witchcraft, right? All the black magic, all the superstitions, he told them to stop believing all those things. And surprisingly, he turned against all the revolutionary and sorry missionaries, and also the Hindus, because he felt these were also outsiders, and they were also suppressing mundas, and they was also suppressing tribal traditions. So he turned against Christian missionaries and Hindus also. Okay. He preached to people to work honestly, to work sincerely, and to cultivate their land again, and to fill the forest with greenery and their own cultivated lands. So so they formed into a small group that's called as Mundaraj. Okay, led by Birsa Munda. They also had a white flag as their symbol. Okay. But in 1895, Britishers noticed that this particular revolt, what is that is becoming that it's becoming stronger, and they have to control it, because they wanted control over the tribals. So in 1895, Birsa Munda got arrested. After 2 years, he got released. Then he started again touring here and there to all the places of the country, and he raised a revolt against the Dikus. So he preached that Dikus are people who are outsiders, and they are curbing the freedom of the tribals, etc. So he started that, and all the people were enraged by that, and they started attacks on the officials. Okay, so in 1900, he died due to cholera. So he had left a, of course, even though his aim was not completely fulfilled, there were some good advantages or good factors that he have contributed to the colonial government. But he has made changes in the laws of colonial government towards the tribal. So whenever they made a law towards the tribal, so they had to think, and they had to think of the revolts and revolutions, and then they have to made a law. So this was change brought by the Birsa Munda revolt. And again, he also proved that tribals are no less of any other particular group. So they are strong enough, and they are capable enough to fight against a mighty army forces. So these were the takeaways from Birsa Munda's revolts. Here ends the chapter. We'll meet in the next video. Thank you.